Welcome back. You're watching Citizen Business, and as we did say at the beginning of the bulletin, we're focusing on entrepreneurship and specifically what opportunities are there for SMEs in financing as well as training. I've got with me Jane Mwangi, the CEO of KCB Foundation, who will be telling us more about Tujiajiri, which is a program that was recently launched by KCB Foundation. We've got Tonnie Mello, seasoned entrepreneur, a youth advisor as well, and we've got Maureen Murunga, founder, entrepreneur of Amadiava Salons. And of course, from you, we'll be learning about how you made it to finance your businesses, and we want to learn from your experiences. Let's start off with you, Jane. Just introduce us to Tujiajiri.
Thank you so much, Terian. Tujiajiri is a program that we have designed as the KCB Foundation. KCB Foundation is the investment arm of the bank, and what the program is focusing to do is to start addressing the big problem of youth unemployment. And we are doing that in 3 stages. The first stage is where we are saying, let's first skill the young people. If we give them a skill, then in stage 2, let's asset finance them. Let's give them working capital. Let's give them business advisory services. And let's give them linkage to markets. And stage 3 is where we say, let's now nurture the businesses to help the businesses grow. And so in a big, broad spectrum, that's what the Tujiajiri program is all about. There is 2 bits of it. There is creating a hustle, and there is igniting a hustle. So creating the hustle is where we are saying the big group down there that doesn't have anything, that they're doing. They have just left school. They have, they have no opportunities for jobs. Let's start by helping them create a small business by first giving them the skills.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tonnie, tell us a little bit about your story and where you started from, especially from a financing point of view, because when we speak to young people, the first thing they say, I have the passion, but I don't have the capital. How did you start?
Well, I'm privileged to be a 4th generation entrepreneur.
What does a 4th generation entrepreneur?
Well, that's a big word to say that my father, my grandfather, and my great-grandfather were in business. So I grew up in a business environment, so I got to understand how business works. And I got to understand that having money or finances is one of the key components. So basically what I did is after campus, I worked, and during that time I saved up. So by the time I went into business, I actually had money to run me. And incidentally, the business that I got...
So it was a side hustle first?
No.
No.
No. For me, I just worked and saved up. So, but unfortunately for the kind of business that I went into, I got my first client after a year.
What business was it? Just
courier business,
you were, okay.
which I still do to date. Yes. So it took me a very long time to begin to make money, but because I had saved up, then I was able to use the resources that I had. But then going forward, the other business that I've done over time, it's either I use the resources that I have, or in some cases I've actually had to liquidate some of my assets that I can be able to provide for the money that I need for the business.
All right, Maureen, tell us a little bit about your story.
So I was actually in the banking industry for a long time, and when I decided I wanted to become an entrepreneur, it meant a lot of my savings. Actually, everything I had was my first, that was how I started. But eventually, once I was in the business, I used a lot of resources that I could get hold of, and a lot of it was bank financing. But as the business was getting bigger and bigger, and I needed more financing, and the structures and the tools that are available needs security, and that proved to be a challenge. So I used another approach. I went into the market to look for funding, and I actually ended up raising funds. How did you raise those funds specifically, especially for a young person who probably is in the same position that you were at that time? How did you go around it? So what I would say to a lot of people, in hindsight now, if you're just starting out, there's very different sources of funding. If you're looking to raise funds, between 0 to 5 years, you should really consider things like seed capitals, grant financing. Those are probably easier instruments, or even the banks. There are some banks that are interested in young entrepreneurs if your idea is exciting. Of course, your business has to be ready for it. And I think that's probably where the challenge comes. So it's all very well to go out there looking for the financing, but your business has to be ready for it. So that's a caveat. Once your business gets bigger, the size mine, it's 5 years now, The financing instruments are slightly different, so the banks will look at you differently, but also now I had the opportunity to go and look for investors, and I actually went to equity funds. I went to venture capital and I pitched my business. So I spent literally a year preparing the business to be ready for the financing.
And we'll get into that in just a moment. But Jane, I want to know about the profile of the young person that approaches to GIG. Who are they? What are they looking for when you engage with them?
Most of them are looking first and foremost for skills, because to GIG, especially the one that we are doing at the foundation level, we are looking at certificate of good conduct, 18 years of age, ID card. We're not really looking at that education with basic English, basic Swahili, because basically we are saying these are the people who have probably not been able to go too far. And when they come to us, we realize that first and foremost they need a skill. And they need a skill so that we are able to take them to the next stage. And so we are focusing on 6 particular areas. We're looking at mechanics. We are looking at beauty. And that beauty we are doing, we are talking of hairdressers and barbers. Then we are looking at domestic. Another domestic pillar, we are looking at housekeepers. We are looking at caterers. You're looking at gardeners. You're looking at security guards. And you're looking at nannies. And then we're also looking at construction. Under construction, you're looking at masons, carpenters, welders. The whole, all the skills that you need in that trade. And then we are looking at agri. Of course, agri, because we're also focusing on the rural area. And in agri, we are really looking, just to grow a lot of, the crops or the fresh produce. As a matter of fact, we just signed a big deal with Tuskies the other day, where Tuskies came and told us, okay, we want to partner with Tujiajiri and want to give the opportunity to the young people. If they can grow for us the fresh produce that we do, that we sell in Tuskies, be dairy, poultry. So we are looking now to help the young people do agriculture in big sense. As a matter of fact, from the order we got from them, we are looking at about 13,000 young people, to meet the specific value chain that they're looking at. And then you're looking at IT. IT as it cuts across all those particular, verticals. And so when you think about it, is where we are saying we are looking at young people who are young, energetic, and ready to learn.
Jane, I know we had a conversation before about, woodwork and tailoring, and this particular institution where, I was speaking to you at, and there's 150 sewing machines, and they could not find enough people to actually sit there. So it's one thing to say that young people have no jobs, but then there's factories that do not have young people. Maybe you can just share a little bit about that.
Basically, what it is we have observed out there, as we all say that, there are no jobs, what it is we find are the contradictions. Because I'll take a good example, the area we did visit, that was at Dandora. It was between Dandora and Umoja. And you remember that the contradictions we are seeing there is that you walk into this factory, it's got about 150 machines, sewing machines high-end, but a big number of them are vacant. You walk down to Dandora bus stop, it's full of young people who are idle. Across you walk to Eastland's School of Technology that we are partnering with. It's a big institution, very well, appointed, but right there, they're not students. And so right there saying, these are the contradictions we are seeing. But supposing we connect the dots, because that's what it is we're trying to do as the KCB Foundation. Take those young people we are seeing at Dandora, take them to class at the Eastland School of Technology. Then we can take them to the factory that is looking for them. And so basically we are trying to connect those dots.
Tonnie, you speak to young people quite a bit.
Yes.
So capital might not always be the absolute problem. What do you tell them?
What I tell them is to get a good idea. And getting a good idea is really about looking at the problems that exist where you are, like she's saying. There are a lot of young people who are sitting around and they don't have jobs. When they begin to interrogate their environments, interrogate their situations, then they'll begin to see the gaps that are there. They'll also begin to see the opportunities. For example, like she's saying, if there's a tertiary institution here, then walk into that institution, find out what courses they're offering and what resources they're offering that could be of benefit to you. And as you begin to do that, because the problem we're having now is that a lot of youth tend to cluster around what looks easy. Whatever looks easy, they want to go there. The other thing that they look for, they want to see what has worked. So if I was hustling with them, and then one day I come back with a Toyota, preview or something. Now suddenly they want now to interrogate, what did you do? So if I tell them I opened an M-Pesa shop, they'll all run to do the M-Pesa shop. So basically what we are trying to advise young people is be open-minded and inform yourself, because currently there's so much information that is available online, blogs and on social media, everywhere. But I find that a lot of times when we go on social media and all these platforms, we want to post the selfies and the rest of the things. But I would really want to urge them to go into this, especially online, and look for this information. Because like I run a blog, business.co.ke, and we just talk about business. And you'll be shocked at the number of young people who are visiting the site on a daily basis. Over 20,000. And with that, we are beginning to see a shift. Because now the kind of questions that guys are asking is, how can I do this? Where can I get resources? Where can I get money? And then connect them to now programs like Tujiajiri. So I find that there are people who are actually moving ahead.
Maureen, I find your concept of raising money, especially in the business that you're in, quite fascinating, because the consensus seems to be within the young people. For you to look for financing, you must be in some really sophisticated kind of business. But you run a chain of salons, and yet you manage to raise so much money. How did you get around the perception issue?
It's exactly what he's talking about. It's creating an idea, making it unique, owning the space, and packaging it. So I saw a gap. I thought that there might be a need for standardizing services, creating a really excellent brand in the space. And there was a lot of opportunity at that level. The amount of money women spend on hair, the amount of money we spend on beauty, definitely there's an opportunity. And then just looking out there, and Google is my friend, so I spend a lot of time online and just seeing what was happening out there, looking at those ideas and seeing how they could translate to the environment I'm operating. Some of them don't work, but that's okay. That's the journey of an entrepreneur. But those that have worked, it's been amazing. So just putting myself out there helps.
All right, I'm taking a final round of final comments, and I'll start with you, Maureen.
What I'd say to people is, if you're looking for financing, I don't think that's ever the problem. It's got to be the idea. The idea has to be sound. There's loads of things we can do out here in Africa. I think we have loads of resources and people, manpower. So definitely your opportunity to make something is there. Don't focus on the money. In fact, looking back now, that should have been the last of the items I should have focused on.
Tonnie?
Two things. Number one is that young people need to learn to create a credit history. When I took my first loan, I actually secured it with cash, because then I needed the bank to develop a relationship with the bank. And over time, then I was able to borrow a lot more money than I could have been able. The second thing is mentorship. A lot of young people get messing up simply because they've not sought advice. So I would advise young people, if you are thinking of getting into any kind of industry, look for people who've done it, or people who've done it for a long time. Or even go to the banks or the financial institutions. You'll get someone who can advise you.
All right. Jane, your final comments?
My final comments is really to say that we are looking forward to taking the young people that we started with. We're piloting with 2,175. A lot of them are graduating end of this month. And we'll take them to stage 2 of the program. And in stage 2 is where now we'll be able to give them the resources and also now give them the mentorship that Tonnie has just said. And basically really saying that because our program is so big, we are really looking to partner with many more partners, because we are saying we can see light at the end of the tunnel. If we are looking to do about 10,000 every year. And we are saying if we all join hands together with the partners, then we shall really start addressing the big challenge that we are looking at. And really saying there is hope. Jobs are there. One way or another we'll be able to get a breakthrough.
All right, thank you all so much for making time to join us this evening and to inspire the young people out there. Jane Mwangi, the CEO of KCB Foundation, of course, which has just launched the Tujiajiri program. Tonnie Mello, seasoned entrepreneur, business.co.ke and youth advisor. And of course, Maureen Murunga, the founder, entrepreneur of Amadiava Salons. Thank you all so much for tonight.
Thank you so much.